Everyone.
Welcome
You got some folks on the BTS behind the scenes on Instagram and TikTok. What it do, everybody?
Yes, let's get this.
What's happening? What's happening? Now we really want y'all to go over to Marriage Inc. TV on YouTube so you can chime in and so we can see some comments that you might be making and what have you. But we'll glance over, occasionally.
Hey, beautiful people.
Look at, ain't she fine? Boy, she just, I don't know. It's getting better.
Oh, is it getting better?
Like, you getting cuter. What's going on with you?
I ain't going to front. When I look at pictures of me and my girls back in the day, we looked so homely. I'm like, the come up is real.
Not homely.
Oh, for real.
Not homely.
Yes.
Not homely.
Yes.
Listen, if you join, wherever you're joining us, this is My Marriage is Dope podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Austin.
And I'm Shirley Austin.
My co-host with the mostest.
Yes.
And the girls was looking homely.
We were
looking. Super funny.
Yes.
You know that, right?
We came up. Man, the week is almost over.
I had, we're going to be talking about conflict.
Yes, we are talking about conflict today, y'all.
Right? And so I had some conflict.
Oh, did you?
Oh, man, you know what it was? It took me a long time to talk.
Conflict. Which one?
Conflict follows me.
Conflicting dude.
I embrace conflict, right?
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy.
Ooh, don't use that word with conflict. You enjoy?
Well, I really enjoy.
You don't run from it.
I don't run from it.
Okay, yeah, that's nice.
I lean into it a little bit.
You know what you do.
And I think in this moment, so I leaned into it. So I was at a job site. I've been doing some production work and what have you, and I was there with several peers, and we were focusing on the mixing console positions. I had broadcast, and two of the others had the front of house and monitor positions. And so the person that I was working with, I was asking them a question, and I kind of felt this tension throughout the week. There was this tension, and admittedly, I didn't know the platform we were on as well as they did. So I was a little behind the eight ball, right? So I'm having to ask way more questions than I'm accustomed, because I'm a teacher. I teach audio engineering, I teach live mixing, but here I'm at a deficit. And so I'm relying on them to help me out. Man, let me tell you, I was on the radio, there was something going on, and that was on a Google Doc, and I was on the radio, and I wasn't getting no response on the radio, so I text. Then I didn't get no response on the text. So I said, let me go down, because they're probably busy teaching. I went down, I see one of the people around his area of responsibility, but the people that he were teaching were really learning on their own. So here I am, I see him on his phone, and I'm like, yo, I'm trying to communicate with you so I can let my counterpart know, who I'm training, we can answer a question that he's asking, and you on your phone. So I kind of motioned to him like, yo, I'm on the phone, like I'm trying to communicate with you. And he's going back and forth to me. I'm like, come around here so we can talk. So I'm not yelling, you're not yelling, blah, blah, blah. He comes and he just all the attitude, just attitude for days. And I'm like, yo, man, you don't have to talk to me like that. I'm trying to help my client, and you like, I need your help.
Right.
He beckons me outside.
He not beckons.
When I tell you, he points his finger and is like, get outside, like, go outside, we'll talk about this.
Right.
And I did the dip, oh, no, you didn't.
Right.
No, you didn't do that in front of these people.
Right.
It was embarrassing. And I'm like, oh, I didn't want to follow him, babe. But I followed him. And he walked out and turned around. I was walking right behind him. And I got it right up in his face, y'all. I was in his face. I was in his face.
Like that.
In his face.
Like that.
In his face. Everybody. I want everybody to know I was in his face. And I said, don't you ever effing talk to me like that again. I said, I'm old enough to be your father. Don't you ever speak to me like that again. And he got real caring on me. So it was like, oh, what are you saying? I didn't do that. I didn't. So now, here I am. Now I look like the bad guy.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah.
I didn't manage that conflict well at all because it was conflict. And there was a moment in time that I could have pulled back. I could have regrouped. I could have went to my project lead. I could have said, hey, I'm trying to do this, blah, blah, blah. In my mind, that was tattletaling. That two men could hash this out with no problems. Well, he didn't feel the same way. Because he went to the boss and then it trickled downhill from there. So I got kicked off the job site. It was late at night. We was leaving anyway, but I got kicked off the job site.
But what's important, right? This is so important because you yourself said there was a moment in time where you could have stopped yourself. You knew what you were feeling, what was bubbling up in you.
It bubbled quick, but I did know.
And because you know you,
yes,
you know what was about to come.
Yes.
What caused you to not? So many people are dead or in jail because they just didn't stop at that point. What is it? What was it for you? What is it for you?
Can I be honest with you? I wanted to smoke. I was prepared for whatever he had to give, whatever it was going to be when we walked out, because all week, this is the mistake I made. I let it build up. I did not address the energy that I was experiencing.
Important. Yes.
So I should have gotten kicked off. I should have got kicked off that job site because I was ready for whatever smoke whatever it was going to be. When I walked out in that hallway, that's what it was going to be.
So you've been getting some really nice checks for some months. So you were ready to lose those checks.
I might have lost them because I don't know if they're going to have me back.
Was it worth it?
It wasn't worth it. It was not worth it at all. I mean, I was pretty emotional later on in the evening. And because one, I allowed another human being to get that kind of response from me. We're talking about conflict today. And I allowed this man to live rent-free in my head. I jeopardized how the company looked. As it didn't matter how great I was, the client was raving about me. It didn't matter how great I was. It didn't matter how good I was doing. None of that mattered. Only thing that mattered was Shannon cussed somebody out on the job site.
And that's so deep because you are one of the best at what you do in the industry.
Well, I'm good.
All of that got thrown out the window because of that one act.
It didn't matter how good I was. And listen, the person that I was working for was looking at me to be the person that really checks on people, like the chief people officer. Like the one that makes sure that everybody's good on the job site, that everybody is okay and things are going well. No, I totally disrupted. I'm just being honest and transparent, right? I disrupted his designs for me because I was not able to manage my emotions, deal with that conflict effectively. It doesn't matter how he presented himself, whether he was wrong, none of that matters. And especially, not to really bring quote unquote race into it, But as a Black man, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Oh, the only thing that matters is it appears as if I was aggressive. It mm-hmm. appears as if I was, well, it didn't appear. I was aggressive. Right? I was disrespectful. I did misrepresent the company. I did all of those things. And I admitted to those things. Mm-hmm. And which helped, you talked about us talking about this topic in conflict last week. And so which made me want to push it to the forefront, because now mm-hmm. I can, not that we haven't had conflict to manage throughout, but now it's fresh for me.
Right.
It's fresh. So what is like,
I mean, you said so many key things in that. I mean, as we know, conflict is just like opposing views and interests and ideas and thoughts and feelings and all of that. Mm-hmm. Conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict can actually just help us grow, and it can help us heal, and it can mm-hmm. help us learn, mm-hmm. but it has to be done constructively.
Yes.
We have to be able to manage the conflict. And that's the thing. Like, we all know what conflict is, yes. but the key is, how do we manage conflict? And then understanding yourself enough to know, when I'm getting to the edge, do I have the courage to pull back? And I say courage because it takes courage to not allow your ego to go before you. Mm-hmm. It takes courage to say, you're disrespecting me, but there's a bigger picture on the back end. And I'm not going to throw that bigger picture away because I'm in my feelings about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that you said that's key in conflict is, you said that this was boiling up. Mm-hmm. So you could have addressed something 4 days prior.
I could have.
Right? And so part of the reason why we have conflict, there is a saying that says, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. Mm. And what happens is we'll feel a certain way, right? It's an opposing feeling that swells up in us. Mm-hmm. We'll think something that it can cause a disconnection. Mm-hmm. And we might blow it off, or we might, say something, but we're walking on eggshells about it. We're not really just being direct and putting it out here. Hey, mm-hmm. this is what I'm feeling. This is how you made me feel. Mm-hmm. This is what happened, X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so then the next time the thing happens, right? The buildup. Now we respond in a way that's not productive. So nothing gets accomplished, right? Then the next time it happened, like, it's this continual compounding. The conflict is actually being delayed, even though we are, the addressing it in a healthy way is being delayed. Mm. Even though we are addressing it, but it's not being addressed mm-hmm. in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. And so it's just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. Mm. Right? And so, there's the internal conflict and the interpersonal conflict. It is so important to understand the internal conflict, because when we understand our internal conflict, right, that has to do with our own insecurities, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. our own emotional dilemmas and blind spots.
Yeah. You
understand? When we deal with that, it helps us in the interpersonal conflicts.
Oh, that's good.
But if we don't deal with us, it's hard for me to deal with you. And that was our whole, first almost half of our marriage. Right? Not dealing with us. And we saw how that got us when we tried to deal with each other.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that thing bothered me on the flight back. Just I was sitting in the lounge. It just bothered me because mm-hmm. I could have handled it in such a better way. Mm-hmm. And I had, this is a problem with conflicts. One of the problems with conflicts. Mm-hmm. One of the problems with conflict is, if you are not mature, I was not being mature in that moment, right? Mm-hmm. If you are not mature enough, you will allow your mind to create all manner of dialogues and mm-hmm. he meant this. I had all kinds of narratives in my head. Mm-hmm. He could have been dealing with an emergency. It could have been something really pressing that's important while he was on, right? It could have had nothing. He could literally have not seen my text come through. Mm-hmm. But the dialogue in my mind was, he's disrespecting me all week. It's been like this. Like all of these, and I moved on a dialogue or a narrative that had not been confirmed.
Right, and that you created.
That I created and had not been confirmed. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a chance to ask him, hey bro, why did you come like, you know, I didn't have a chance to say, hey man, I know you know more than I do. And I know I seem like the weak link, but I know what I'm doing. There's these subtle nuances that I need your help with. Mm-hmm. When I had felt that energy initially, I should have pulled him aside. Yeah. Then he was he wasn't feeling well one morning. Mm-hmm. So he just laid out on the stage on his back, just for hours. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. So then I added that to my dialogue. Right. Because I was working and was in pain.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so
you looking at him like, why can't you work?
Right. All of that. Yep. And so then what that says is I didn't have the empathy needed in the moment to even bother to bring that up in my dialogue.
Because you don't know his threshold and all that's on him.
I don't know what he was experiencing. I don't know what was going on with him.
Right.
And his narrative is not my narrative. Right. So why I'm pushing through has something to totally do with me and getting stronger and not allowing the pain to keep me from living a life that's moving and I can do right. So I was pushing through for my own reasons, and he wasn't pushing through for his own reasons. But I created narratives that now help to build up that anxiety and anxiousness and contention I had to the point that I was ready. I was ready to fight, man.
Wow.
I might have got my butt whipped. I don't know. Hey, I don't know. He'd have known I was in the room though. But it was gonna be some furniture moving. But there wasn't no furniture in the lobby. But I was prepared for it when I was walking out. And look, there's this moment that you have. You know, the Bible says that even though we get tempted, God gives us a way of escape.
He gives us a way of escape.
There's a moment in time in our interactions. I could either cuss you out or I could pause. I love that reel that you do when you say pause and then rethink and reshape the narrative like split second.
I liken our brain to a train, right? Think of a train that is going really fast. As fast as it's going, there are still spaces in between each car. And if you stand still and look, it might be just a second, but you can see in between that space.
That's good.
That's the brain. The brain gives you 3 to 5 seconds to retrain and rethink.
That's good.
We have to learn and train ourselves to take those seconds. Because listen, this is the truth of the matter. This situation that you found yourself in, throughout your life, you have found yourself in this same exact situation. Exactly. You got fired from a major gig before because of this.
I got fired from the Jacksons because of that.
You got fired from the Jacksons. You got fired from Music Soul Child.
No, I didn't get fired from Music Soul Child.
Yes, you did. You got arrested at the
at the airport.
At the airport.
Yeah.
Come on.
You ain't got to put my business out there on the street, right? Come on, man.
But it's important to be able to sit back and say, what is it? Why do I feel the need?
Right.
Right? And not just for you, for all of us.
Right.
Because all of us don't show up sometimes. But sometimes there are just patterns where we're not showing up. Now that is speaking to the lack of discipline that we are displaying. And we have to be able to pinpoint, why do I have a lack of discipline when I feel this way in this type of situation?
Well, I can answer that question right now. it is, it goes back to when my dad would shut me down. Mm. And I didn't have an opportunity to explain. Mm-hmm. Don't do that to me. Mm-hmm. And you've experienced that. Oh, yeah, don't do that. Don't shut me down. Don't dismiss me. Don't beckon me. Don't, especially when I haven't. And then I have, right? Remember when I told you the story about Phil, and he gave me one of the worst spankings. A good old West Indian Jamaican spanking. Mm-hmm. Y'all know them West Indian spankings are different. Mm-hmm. You hear what I'm telling you? And he gave me one of them, and but it was for something I didn't do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if he would have taken the time to ask me or investigate, then I wouldn't have had to receive the worst spanking of my life. Yeah. Right? And so it's tied into all of that. Yeah. I'm not going to let anybody disrespect me. Oh, I'm not going to let in each situation at the airport, Huntsville PD was wrong. Mm-hmm. They should have just left me alone because I wasn't doing anything. Right. Well, the Jacksons guy, he was jealous that he got relegated from production manager to stage manager. Mm-hmm. And I should have been in tuned enough and should have just been able to brush him off. Mm-hmm. And then with this situation at the job site, I should have just been able to interpret, but I internalized all of that. Yes. And so what I was doing was ready to give the smoke to Philip Austin, my father. Mm. So they were his understudy. They were standing in for him. Mm-hmm. And they were going to get all the smoke that he didn't get. Mm. I'm just coaching myself in the moment. Wow. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you have to, get rid of the desire to give.
I have to forgive him. Yeah. I have to forgive him. Yeah. He did the best he could with what he had.
He really did.
He did the best he could with what he had. Yep. He didn't have the information that I have. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the training that I have. He didn't have the personality that I have. Mm-hmm. And so he gave me the best he had. And for me, the best wasn't good enough, but I can't continue to punish everyone else in the world for his mistakes.
And most of all,
for his shortcomings.
And most of all, punish yourself because you suffer. Right? What are some solutions to conflict? What do you?
Well, one of the things what I didn't do, I can just go back to what I didn't do. Mm-hmm. What I didn't do is I didn't take the time to have open, honest communication. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I internalized. Mm-hmm. I held it. I held on to it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even, so open, honest communication is bidirectional, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't even give him a chance to say anything about what went on. Mm-hmm.
Which speaks to another way to avoid conflict, because part of that was, and even though it was internally done, you were blaming him for the tension in the air, right? And so part of not having conflict is to avoid blaming, like seeing where you fit in this situation, what you could have done better, where even if something is blaringly wrong that the other person is doing, just stop. And really, listen, if you go in from a spiritual place, like, God, show me in this situation. God's going to show you something 9 times out of 10 that you could have done better. Right? We're continually looking to cast blame because we want to be right. We don't want to be wrong, because being wrong means now our whole idea of something is shot. And now we have to create something else. And nobody wants to do that. We don't want to be wrong in what we think. Right? And so we just have to be okay with being wrong. And if we have to create another narrative that is healthier and more effective, then why wouldn't we want to do that? You know? One of the other things, now this, y'all listen, this is important. Y'all listen, this is so important when it comes to conflict. I would say this is really one of the top 3.
Okay.
Stay on topic. How many times have you found yourself in conflict?
Right.
And it starts out, we're here, and by the time we get to the end, we've literally gone down the gamut of issues that we've had.
Right.
Like we've gotten lost. We don't even know what we're talking about now. And by the time we get to the end, we've literally gone down the gamut of everything. Instead of what happened today. Today, you stepped on my foot. But I'm talking about how you stepped on my foot and then you knocked my hat off the other day. And then you closed the door on me the other day. And then you disrespected me the other day. And it's like, we haven't even resolved the fact that you stepped on my foot.
Right.
Can we just stay on topic, y'all? I'm seriously. And the reason why a lot of you find yourself in constant conflict is because you hadn't resolved. You're just conflicting. Right? You're not resolving. You have to be solution oriented. And for that, you have to be intentional because it is actually very challenging to stay on topic. Because I say something, you say something, I'm going to want to say something that uplifts and strengthens my point, which means I'm going to bring other instances into play. Then you're going to talk about why you did what you did on one of the instances that I brought into play.
And understand? And look, I got to say it now because it's important, because if I lose the thought, I won't be able to get you on the point I'm trying to get you on. So...
It's this 6 cycle.
Come on, man.
6 cycle. What else?
Come on, man. Stay on topic. So one of the things that we hang our hat on is you want to fight the problem, not the person.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So we always say, even in conflict, let's say a conflict cannot be resolved tonight. There are couples that are in conflict. They're like, no, we're going to talk about this and blah, 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 blah. But it's getting late and it's time to go to bed. What do? Take the problem, because the problem is the thing that you're dealing with. The thing that you're not dealing with, the person. Right? Once you begin to now couple the problem and the person begin to merge as one, now you have set yourself up for a significant amount of failure in this interaction in future. You have to be able to say, here's the problem. It's a thing all by itself. And then you can put it on the shelf, back there on the shelf, and then you can come back to it and address it. And you can still treat each other. I was on a coaching session earlier today, and one of the things that the wife was saying was, when there is conflict, then she feels like that it's internalized to the point that she now is the thing that's wrong.
Yes.
And so he can't treat her nicely, can't love on her, can't hug on her. It's as if she's the problem, and so he isolates himself from her, right? And so that's because he's seeing her as the problem. And she's not the problem, because she loves him dearly. Loves him so much. She just needs the tools and the coaching or counseling or whatever they choose to be able to navigate these spaces. But it's so difficult in that moment to not see, man, I would see you as the problem. And if you would get yourself together, if you would stop doing thus and so, then my whole world would be amazing. And that wasn't the case.
And what happens is is when we attack the person and not the problem, we begin to label the person. Right? That's another thing that causes major conflict. So I'm calling you selfish, and the big thing now, you're a narcissist.
You're a narcissist. That's
right.
Everybody's a narcissist now.
Everybody's a narcissist
now.
My goodness. Right? Right. And so I'm calling you out of your name, and you genuinely don't understand, and you genuinely don't have the tools you're not trying to hurt me.
Right.
Right. And man, I have been so guilty of that. I was extremely judgmental early on in our relationship, which caused hella conflict, because I would label you based off of your bad behavior instead of saying, this is Shannon's bad behavior, but that doesn't make him a bad man. Right? There is a difference. Because we make bad decisions doesn't make us a bad person. So, yeah, that's...
So you say oftentimes that behind every conflict, there's an ask or a need.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you explain that? Explain that to the people, what that means when you say that. There's an ask or a need pretty much behind every conflict.
So if I say, honey, I really want to spend time with you, right? That's my love language. And it's caused conflict because you haven't spent time with me the way I wanted you to spend time with me. That means I'm asking you for something and you are not meeting that need. You're ignoring it. You are being dismissive. Right? So conflict is not happening because the person's being a jerk. It's not happening because they just want tension. Like, who wants to live like that? You know what I'm saying? But it's so crazy because we think the worst of our spouse sometimes. When literally it's, hey, I'm asking you for something and you're not meeting that need. Right? So, I mean, it's simple. Like 1 + 1 is 2. If there's conflict, stop and ask your spouse, honey, what is it that you're actually asking? Because sometimes there's conflict and your spouse may not be wording it properly, right? So there may be a lot of talk, but just being simple, like 5 words, that's the ask. Whatever the ask is, it might take 3, 4, 5 words, real simple, right? Narrow it down. That's why I always say you have to be able to explore, go on a journey of exploration, discovery. That's how you're going to find out what the ask is.
But here's a problem with discovery, right? So unfortunately, we live in a microwave society, right? And so the reason what makes discovery so long, because discovery is about a journey. It's about some turns, some twists and turns, some ups and downs. And oftentimes we don't have the patience for a journey. And I tell people all the time, which God would you prefer? Which life would you prefer? Would you prefer a microwave life or a crock pot life? Would you much rather me sit that turkey in the oven around 8 o'clock at night on Thanksgiving at about 200 and then I baste it all night with butter and herbs? Or you want me to pop it in the microwave and let you cook it? I cook it, in 45 minutes. Which turkey do you want to eat? And most people don't have the patience that's needed to be able to take that time.
But you're right. And not being willing to have that patience is causing conflict. My mentor, Ronnie Vanderhorst, said to me many double-digit years ago, he said, one of your challenges, Shirley, is you keep making statements. Stop making statements and ask questions. When you make statements, it causes people to put their guard up, to get defensive, right? Because 9 times out of 10, I'm making a statement. It is a judgmental statement. It is a statement of assumptions. It is a statement of criticism. I'm putting you down. It's something of that nature. So automatically, you're going to get defensive. He said, ask questions. Period. When you ask questions, now it's like it puts the ball in their court. Now they have to think and come up with the answer. And a lot of times when they come up with an answer, if they're being honest, they'll actually see themselves and see what they could have done better.
Just real programming note. We're going to let TikTok and Instagram go live in a minute with this behind the scenes. So we want you guys to tap in on YouTube and finish jumping in. Go ahead and jump right in those comments. But on YouTube at Marriage Inc. TV, Marriage Inc. TV, you'll see the live. You'll see that we're live, and you can tap in there because we're going to let y'all go Instagram once we move into the Q&A portion. Because remember, we answering questions. And I don't know that I don't see the questions. Shirley has all the questions. I don't get to see the questions before we give the answer.
Yes.
So when we move into this Q&A portion, we're going to log off of those 2 platforms, and we're going to focus directly to YouTube. So Marriage Inc. TV. You better go subscribe, follow us, like this live, and then tap back in while the conversation is still going. We'll give y'all a few minutes to do that. And then we're gonna let you go. Go ahead, baby.
What was I saying? I don't know.
So how do you, like, let's say with your girls, do y'all manage conflict well?
We do. We manage conflict.
How do y'all, what are some of this, like, walk me through, you don't have to tell people's business.
No.
But walk me through
I'm
what
just
that
giving you
looks like.
principles. I'm just going to give you principles. One of the things that we do very well.
And the reason why I'm asking you this, because this is applicable in every area of your life. But see, look, this is what happens. Those other areas of your life, what happens is when you utilize these tools in the other areas of your life, it's like having reps, right? It's like practice. So that when you come to the most important area of your life, you or me or, whoever, when you come to the most important area of your life, it's not something you're reaching for. You're trying to figure out. It's something that you can. So go ahead with your girls. Because you got a group of girls y'all friendship is amazing to me. So
a couple of the things that we do very well, we really seek understanding. Like if somebody's feelings get hurt or something like that, like, yeah, we might do a back and forth. A couple of us are Rachel, very sarcastic. Shirley, extremely, very sarcastic. Right? Like all of us in our own way, really, we can be sarcastic or whatever the case may be, right? So yeah, listen, we might throw a little shot or whatever, but that don't last long. We're like, okay, what's going on? And we really do well working to understand what the other person's point was, why they said what they said, where they were coming from. And we do not, we don't judge it. We just don't. We don't judge it for the most part. Like, I can't even say for the most part, like we stay calm. And we'll come back. Right? Like there have been times where we've not talked to each other for however length of time. And one of us will reach out, we'll meet up for lunch, we'll pour out our heart, we will receive whatever the other person, whatever their viewpoint is, and hug it out and keep it moving, right? Like that's just being able to show empathy, being able to say, hey, we can agree to disagree. Like we're different people.
So that friendship remains the focus.
The friendship is the focus.
Right. So whatever we need to do to get back
keep the friendship.
to come back around. So you're always a team. You're always focused on each other. You always have each other's best interests at heart.
Yes.
But so now relate that to marriage. So marriage, we should always keep the marriage as the focus, guys.
We are a team.
We are a team. We are working together. We are not trying to hurt each other. We are just trying to get rid of this obstacle that is conflict so that we can continue on the path.
Right. And you have to be realistic. I am my own person. I am me. And my life has created whatever my ideologies and value system and principles right? He is him. So there is going to be conflict. It is just so unrealistic to think that there's not going to be conflict, and then it's not right and not fair to think that the conflict now to make it all about me. Like you're doing something to me. I mean, it just doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the relationship. It doesn't serve the longevity. It doesn't serve my desire to be close to you. Why would you want to be close to me? If whenever you bring something to me, right? And that's another thing. How to avoid conflict. Stop taking it personal.
Stop taking it personal.
Like if you bring something to me, why am I not going to sit back and be like, okay, he brought this to me because it's important to him. Opposed to, oh, he's saying I'm this and you saying I'm that and you don't see me and I'm trying to do and I'm doing the best that I can and I did this for you and I did that, right? That's where a lot of people go down that road.
So then the issue is not the problem. How we handle it,
how we're handling
is the problem. And because listen, you know, it's when I was working early in my Army career, I worked at a major medical center, and I would be on watching the doctors do their rounds. It's a teaching hospital. I'm watching the doctors do their rounds. You got interns, residents, attending physicians, and like fellows, right? But not nano. So interns at the bottom, medical students, interns, residents, fellows, and then the attending physician. And they would almost be cussing folk out. Like, Bob, why the hell did you think about that? And I was like, ooh. But the patient was the focus. It wasn't anything personal.
That's right.
It wasn't, it was like, what job are you doing for the patient? That's it. How did what you do affect the patient? And you know, those are some interesting conversations. But so the issue is not the problem. It's what are we doing to contribute to the issue is the problem.
And this is a whole other lie,
okay,
right?
Yeah, you can cut me off. No, sure.
Right, and that causes conflict, right?
No, I'm just being silly.
But maybe
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I really did lose my thought. Okay,
that's all right. That's all that weed you smoked back in the day.
I know it was.
You got to leave that alone. So listen, guys, unless her thought comes back, we are going to go to the Q&A.
Yes.
Come tap in if you're on TikTok and Instagram. Woo! Come tap in at marriageinc.tv.
Love y'all questions. Keep bringing them in.
We've had people.
Thank y'all.
We've had people bring us questions, and they not no slouch questions. So
some dating. Listen, if you're single too, we've been getting parenting questions from singles. All right, we're about to shut off the TikTok and the IG. Coming over to Marriage Inc.
Come on over to Marriage Inc. TV.
Marriage Inc. TV
on YouTube. All right.
See you in a few.
Peace.
Hey.
What's up, y'all? Q&A time.
Q&A. This is my favorite. I love the Q&A. Love the Q&A. I can't wait until it gets to the point where we can do the live Q&A. Have people call in.
You think it's a game?
I love that because then we can ask, more questions and get clarity. But
get fired on these bitches one time.
Best we can with what we have.
Come on, baby. Give me that first question.
First question.
On these bitches one time.
What do you do when you're changing and wanting to be better? And what do you do when you're changing and wanting to better your situation? Your spouse doesn't support you. You have to realize, What do you do when you're changing and wanting to better your situation and your spouse doesn't support you? Sorry, guys.
That's a loaded question. That's a funny question because it says, read it again.
What do you do when you're changing and wanting to better your situation and your spouse doesn't support you? That is, I wish.
Right. So the spouse is seeing something about your actions or behavior that there's not an indication that you're trying to change the situation. Right. So why wouldn't your spouse support you if you're trying to better your situation? So how you're trying to better your situation is clearly not bettering the situation.
So that's one perspective. Because I have a different perspective.
Well, speak on it.
Right? And my perspective is that maybe you killing your version of yourself is uncomfortable to your spouse. Because your spouse is not bettering themselves.
Oh, that's good. So what you're saying, hold on. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Hammer time.
Right?
What you're saying is you're changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your spouse doesn't like the fact that you're changing because it highlights the fact that they're not changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it brings light to the fact that they need to change as well, but they're not changing.
Right. So they're fighting the version of you that you are becoming.
Okay. So
because they were comfortable in the version of who you were.
So based on if that is the question,
mm-hmm.
then you just got to keep your head down and run. You cannot look to the right or the left. You have to have blinders on. It might seem as if they're fighting against you. For the longest time, I seemed like I was fighting against you. For the longest time, you seemed like you were fighting against me. At the point in time that we focused on ourselves, put our blinders on, and all we saw is ourselves, and we didn't focus on each other, that's when our relationship began to go to the next level. Would you agree?
Yes. A lot of these questions had to do with change, interesting enough. Mm-hmm. So my spouse and I have been having the same issue for a while now. It's now affecting other areas of our marriage that weren't an issue before. What do you suggest to get us on the same page?
I really don't understand why people ask these questions. Like, what would you do? Like, you have to acquiesce at some point. You have to, if you're having an issue that's now going into other areas, the person said, my spouse and I have been having issues. Not my spouse is having an issue. Mm-hmm. So they are participating in the issue. Mm-hmm. You got to stop your participation in the issue.
Right.
Excuse me.
Right. And if it's affecting other areas of your marriage, you are participating in that. Right. So you are the common denominator. And not that the issue is you, but we just talked about conflict. And part of that was stepping back and seeing what part did you play. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing you could do. You can't control your spouse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if it's bleeding into other areas of your marriage, how are you participating in that? Don't allow it to bleed into other areas of your marriage. This conflict that y'all are having clearly is because neither of you want to come out of this space that you're in. So my suggestion to you is you go in your corner, he go in his corner, and y'all really seek God with how can I come to a better solution? Because you have your point, he has his point. Mm-hmm. Let's come to a third point where we're on the same page with that. Mm-hmm. Let your point go. Encourage him to let his point go and let y'all just come on the same page.
Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of maturity.
And it takes a lot of maturity to do that.
Takes a lot of maturity. Listen, I want to grab. Can I grab a question out the chat?
Of course.
Pretty Girl Brown is saying, married 17 years and had a disagreement with the husband. The husband asked for space, and there's been zero communication for a month. Now, I find that challenging to understand. Like
does space mean out of the house? He's not in the house?
No, he didn't say anything. She didn't say anything about being in or out the house. She just said he asked for space.
Okay.
And there's been zero communication.
Okay.
I guess about the disagreement. I want to say, because I hopefully they're saying hello to each other and good morning and being polite. But so then she goes on to say, he's not interested in speaking right now. Do I force it or just wait? Well, the one thing that you never do is force it. But, force is a very strong word. Mm-hmm. And it means that you're imposing your will in a situation or on a person. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to do that. And so you can suggest or you can ask, babe, is it okay that we talk about, and you have to decide. You might need a third party. You might need some sort of mediation, because
for him to see this. I have other questions, right? Does he typically shut down? Like, what was it that made him just shut down like this?
And she says, nope, nothing. He nothing. He lives 3 hours away for his job. I visit every other week.
So you guys still have interaction. You just have not spoken about this particular situation?
Type fast, Pretty Girl Brown.
And I also want to answer Ortiz. Ortiz, we actually have that question is actually on here, so stay locked in. To me, right, what it sounds like is whatever the situation is, it hurt him deep. Mm-hmm. The situation or how you dealt with the situation.
To the point that he shut down.
To the point that he completely shut down. We haven't spoken. No, he asked her to leave. Okay. He asked her to leave. And
he's away, so she has a home. He asked her to leave where he stays.
But they hadn't even spoken in a month.
And they haven't spoken in a month. Okay.
To me, that speaks to...
That's a deep heart hurt.
Man, that is a deep heart hurt. So one of the things I encourage you to do is to look at the situation. How did you handle that particular situation? I was going through his things and asked a question and he got angry.
Okay. That lets me know too. Well, we should never be going through grown folk stuff. If you feel the need to go through grown folk stuff, your problem is greater than you realize.
Which is probably the problem. I'm assuming there's trust issues.
Mm-hmm. Definitely trust issues.
Right. Just the fact that you went through it, you may have been thinking something, and I don't know if you found something.
She says she agrees.
Right, because you said that you asked him a question and he got angry. So we can't assume anything because he's not here to talk and to share and to defend himself, right? But I want to say some stuff.
Say some stuff. Talk your shit, man.
No. I'm just saying, like, if you found something and he got angry and now he doesn't want to talk about it, there may be some validity to what you found.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Right? And so I wouldn't, first of all, like Shannon said, you can't force anything, but I would definitely encourage a conversation. Babe, we have not talked about this situation in a month, or we've not spoken in a month. You can ask him, when will he be ready to talk? Can we set a date to talk? And we encourage people to do that. Like, put the ball in his court. Let him come up with a time where you guys can talk. And if he doesn't give a time, then what? As a man, what do you? I most definitely found.
Yeah, she said she found some things, some receipts.
Okay.
Some flowers and a tank top that's not hers.
Okay.
Right. And so we do not advocate. If you've been following us at all, you know our story. I cheated, Shirley cheated, and right. So, right. But the one thing that we do not advocate is the one thing we do advocate is to begin to look internally. If either you married an evil person or a spouse is tipping or doing things that are inappropriate or giving their attention to other people for a reason. Mm-hmm. And most people don't care about that reason. Mm-hmm. Most people only care about the offense. The offense is easy to deal with. Mm-hmm. What's difficult to deal with is why the person felt the need to do the thing in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would send you down that path. Mm-hmm. If you found flowers and a tank top, receipt, mm-hmm. and it made you think that he might be doing something inappropriate, I would begin to ask, he has to be held accountable at some point, mm-hmm. but you're in no position to hold him accountable. Like he doesn't even want to talk to you. So then it's not your fault that he made those decisions. Mm-hmm. We don't know if he made those decisions, it's not your fault that he made the decision. But there was an environment that was created that made it possible for those decisions to be made. And those are the questions that you got to start asking yourself.
That, right? Like,
that's what we did. That's the hard questions I had to ask myself when I found out that Shirley was unfaithful. One, immediately God told me, don't ask for no forgiveness if you're not willing to forgive her. That's one. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing was, what environment did I create that made it possible for her to make the decisions that she made? Mm-hmm. And that was very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was very, very difficult.
So can you give like the first step for Pretty Girl Brown to do would be to what?
To begin an introspective mm-hmm. a look at herself,
mm-hmm. and then
but as she's doing that, she needs, like you just said, mm-hmm. to communicate to your husband. Listen, we need to talk, and we can't not talk to each other. Mm-hmm. But lead with, I know I've done some things that create an environment that makes you want to pull away from me.
That's key. Pretty Girl Brown. And trust me. You got to do that. You do. You have to do that. And that's in my book. One of the things in my book that Wife You, I wrote a book called Wife You, the ABCs to Winning His Heart. Just that accountability piece that opens up a man's heart. He's like, doggone it, you get it, right? It's not just me. Mm-hmm. So that's important.
I'm going to come back to you, but let me ask one more question from the chat. Because Miss Dimitri, I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Dimitri.
She's been such a loyal follower of us, and she loves us.
Hi, Miss Dimitri.
So I want to ask. See. She says, "So what do you call a person who lies, cheats, and never wrong or accepts responsibility? And all women are wrong and crazy. Women are not supposed to talk, just listen and don't answer. What I call that person is broken." Broken and misinformed.
And if that's somebody that you chose, I call it the wrong choice. That's it. Like,
but you in there though.
but you chose them.
So you gotta find your way to listen. Let there not be. Shout out to Renee Neal, who is our marriage counselor. Used to be Renee Mobley, but now is Renee Neal. She has found love.
Yes.
And she presented a concept to us that we use in our coaching process. And she said, you got to storm the gates of heaven on behalf of your spouse. Mm-hmm. This is not no light prayer.
No.
This is not no mamby-pamby, bless him, Lord, bless him. No. Mm-hmm. You got to be laying siege to heaven gates. That means you're going to encamp around heaven's gates and pray on behalf of your husband until something changes. Mm-hmm. You are not going to let God go until something changes. Yeah. Period. Yeah. Like this is not light work. People are broken out here. Yeah. Yeah. People are sinners out here. Yeah. People are messed up. Yeah. And far be it for us to just leave and depart when a person needs us the most. That's the goal of a spouse. Mm-hmm. When Shirley saw me stricken with disease, cancer, congestive heart failure, cancer, she didn't leave. She didn't decide to just abandon me. She leaned into her prayer life. She focused harder. She got on the phone and called people, not to talk about the problems, not to bash me, not to throw me under the bus, but to pray. And we gotta be more prayers. Look.
Get fired on these bitches one time.
You ain't hear that sound effect.
No, I was like, did they hear it?
Yeah. Yeah, like this is not a game. This is marriage, and it's hard, and it takes a lot of effort and focus. People want it to be easy, and it's not easy. It doesn't always have to be difficult and hard. And
right.
All that.
Right.
But listen, let's say he wasn't a person who lies and cheats and is never wrong and doesn't accept responsibility. Let's say that wasn't him. Let's say he got hit by a car and he's a quadriplegic now. What would you do, Miss Dimitri? I'm sorry. What would you do?
It's like asking him to run a marathon. Would you do that? No, you wouldn't ask him to run a marathon because he's not capable.
But what you would do is you would operate in what he is capable of. Mm-hmm. Baby, eat.
Encourage his strengths. Right. Focus more on his strengths and encourage his strengths.
And then in the meantime, you are praying for God to bring an understanding to him that shows him himself. Mm-hmm. And then shows him himself inside your marriage so that you all can grow and go to the next level.
Listen, this is the thing. We choose who we choose. Then the second choice is if we choose to stay with them. So if we choose to stay with them, we don't have the right to complain because we know what we're staying with. Mm-hmm. Right? And what fruit is that bearing? Stress, depression, sadness, start letting yourself go physically, like, right? A lot of stuff that on the back end is killing you. So instead of choosing that, like she said, choose to just encourage, love wherever you can, him wherever you can. And I say wherever you can because sometimes a person won't allow you to get close, right? But wherever you can get close, love him in that way. And let your life be an example of love, right? Like if you are a follower of Christ inside your home,
show him Christ.
You have to show him Christ, or else what you're representing does not bring him closer to Christ and closer to the man that you want him to be.
Amen. Come on, talk your
So
almost cuss, but I cuss anyway.
Cuss anyway.
All right, so we're going to come back to Ortiz's question. Lexiva Ortiz, let us know in the chat if you are still with us. We are going to come to your question, but we got to get to these questions as well.
But this question, I told her question, somebody else actually asked this question a little different way, but it's the same question.
Okay, shoot it.
So she said she has a boyfriend, and, you know, what do you do when he says that you're nagging and things of nature? This question was, soon as I start talking, my husband makes faces and tunes me out. Can you give any advice? Right.
Why do I see the husband rolling his eyes like, oh my God, here we go again?
You know, my thing is, I'm sure when you started the dating process and early in your marriage, 9 times out of 10, right? I'm making an assumption because I don't know either of you ladies. That wasn't your experience, right? So now, like Shannon was just talking about, you have to be able to go back and look and see, how do you deal with information? How do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with his bad behavior? How do you deal with his shortcomings? How do you handle his friends, his family? Like, what does that look like? Because he is responding based off of all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand? So if he says you're nagging, and this young lady said he starts to make faces, are you being critical? Are you more critiquing everything he does?
Or are you complaining?
Are you complaining?
Are you constantly talking about?
Are you disrespecting him?
Are you gossiping?
Are you lashing out?
Yes, all these,
right? Saying very disrespectful things to him.
Like if he's rolling his eyes and you say good morning, that's a different problem.
Right.
But if you are criticizing him, like you said, or being negative generally, like some people, vibe is so important. Like vibe is very, very important. So when I'm in those negative headspaces, I need to be careful about what I'm communicating to you. Such and such, always such and such. Such and such. And in your mind, you'll be rolling your eyes like, oh my God.
And I think when it comes to communication, men can be wicked from the standpoint of being mean. Women can be mean too. But a woman, like her tongue can be wicked. Right? So
directed at him or anyone else.
Right. So how is your tongue as it relates to him?
Yes, that's good.
Not what you think, but what he thinks, because he's the recipient of it. You can't tell him, no, I don't do that. No, I don't. Yet he's sitting there watching you as you go off on him. He's sitting there as you keep cutting him off, when he expresses himself. And then you have the nerve to tell the man, you don't feel that way and you don't have a right to feel that way. And how can you ever feel that way? Come on, what do you expect him to do? Yes, he's going to look at you and roll his eyes. He's going to say all you do is nag, and he's going to shut you down. That's what happens. Unless you just marry just an evil person. Like Shannon was like, did you marry an evil person? Or did you marry somebody who is just fed up with your BS? Like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be mean or whatever, but I had to look at myself and be like, yo, Shirley, I would not want to come home to you. I would not want to be your wife. Because you do not know how to handle this man when he expresses how he feels.
So she said, I do not disrespect him ever. This is Ortiz, not of course, the question you asked.
Okay.
I do not disrespect him ever. I speak to him soft and in love. So what I am expressing is the things he used to do, he now doesn't. So when I say I miss it, he says I'm nagging. But
I do not.
Yeah, but I would love for you to talk to her, honey, because there's a subtle nuance. If you say, babe, I miss when you blah, 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 blah. That's a more effective way of approaching it. But when you say, you don't do this anymore, you don't ever, or you don't, then it comes off as being critical or criticism. And so it's a subtle nuance between criticism and sharing your heart.
So
when you share your heart, you have to.
I knew she was going to say that.
I do exactly that way. So you have to share your heart. So he's challenged. He's challenged with the fact that he's different now. Now, why he's different, we don't know.
And that's what I was about to ask. Because I knew you were gonna say that you do exactly that, right? So I want to ask you, did something change, like at work for him, not for you, for him? Did something at work change, like, or with family? Did somebody pass? Did something change that caused his emotions to shift? And now maybe he's short with you, right? And it's just that it's displaying itself with you.
She's saying she thinks it's that she expressed it so many times. And people that really don't want to hear what they're doing wrong all the time.
His uncle, that was his uncle, an intricate part of his life. Like if it really affected him, right? Then, because that's what, sometimes when we, especially men, right? Grief, you know, I don't know, as a man of color, I would think he's a man of color. Is he a man of color? Right? So maybe he don't want to show that side of him, right? So he's projecting his hurt to you. So right now you just got to give him space, time, love on him. And let me say this, instead of keep telling him you miss this and you miss that, just do what you can for him. Just love him. Don't say anything. Whatever you miss, do that thing. You understand? Like, don't keep talking about this stuff, because what that is that's pressure on him. And he already has pressure on him. So for him, it is nagging, because he's like, I can't even deal with that right now. But when you show it, right, and show it is loving on him, that's a release for him. That makes him feel good. That opens him up.
Yes.
So I would do less talking, more showing, more just sharing physically.
That's good. Yep. That girl good. You good, baby.
You so crazy.
You good.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely.
I love it. All right, next question.
Single.
We're going to do 2 more questions, and that's going to be it, because we're long on this.
Okay. Single and looking. I believe that I'm ready for a committed relationship, but clearly I'm either not looking in the right places or not attracting the right people. Please give your wisdom for both scenarios.
All right, so before we answer that question, I need everybody that is viewing us right now to go and to like. I only see 2 likes for this live. Ooh. So you hear it's we got a nice amount of people here. If you are finding value in what you've heard over the past hour and almost a half, 15 minutes, please go and like this and make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We need that. All right, we need that. Go ahead.
Yep.
Ask the question again.
So she said, single and looking. Yes. I believe that I'm ready for a committed relationship, but clearly I am either not looking in the right places or not attracting the right people. Please give your wisdom for both scenarios. Not looking in the right places or not attracting
the right people.
The right people.
All right. So I have a third.
Oh, okay.
And the third is, I want to add, maybe she's not the right person. Maybe she hasn't become the right person. And so because she has not become the right person, she is not attracting the right person. Right? So when you work on you and you become the best you that you could possibly be, I'm talking about not on the surface. I'm talking about diving deep down into those deep recesses. You know those, we know the ugliness of ourselves, right? And if we know that ugliness and we have not dealt with it, and then we want God, most people that connect with us are in some way spiritual in nature. We want God or Allah or the universe or someone to attract this amazing person to us when we are not an amazing person. And not on the surface. I'm talking about your mess, where we're down on the deepest recesses, where you're ugly and nasty and you don't like seeing yourself. Are you fixing those things are you becoming a better person in those areas? And when you become a better person in those areas, the universe will attract the right person to you, I believe.
I agree with that. And I want to be fair to the person, because maybe you've done the work and doing the work, and holistically you are ready for a relationship, right? One of the things is just being patient. But I also think that people are not dating properly these days.
What do you mean by that?
I feel like,
see how I asked the question there? That I asked her a question because
I feel like people are looking for a place to unload their heart, opposed to using dating as an interview process. Right? Like, we want to quickly just find somebody who's going to love us. And in doing that, we skip asking certain questions.
You're full of gems.
Right? So in the interview, sometimes you have 3 different interviews. You know what I'm saying? It's not just one interview. You pass this level, and then we're going to take you to the next level. Then we're going to take you to the CEO. Right? And so I think when it comes to dating, I would just say to you, like, what questions are you asking? Because it's all about making sure you are choosing the person wisely. In order to do that, there's so much you need to observe. So many questions you need to ask. Stop going in at trust. See, with the whole trust thing, we do that backwards when it comes to dating. We go in immediately saying, I went in just trusting the person. Y'all, you are not supposed to go in. How are you going to trust somebody that you don't even know? It's supposed to be zero trust. See, these are the stages of trust. It is the zero trust, transactional trust, reciprocal trust, and then unconditional, which is completely rare, because last week we learned that unconditional is no matter what, I want your happiness, right? So what we do when we're dating, we go in just trusting, and we put our heart on a platter. And then when it gets broken, we're sitting there dumbfounded, like, what the heck happened, right? But we didn't allow this process to be a process of, let me genuinely get to know you, know the people you are connected to, know how you treat the people you're connected to, how do you talk to the people that you're connected to, right? So maybe you're not meeting the right people because you're not dating properly, right? And where are you going to meet the right people? Right? Because you can't go to, like, everybody talks about going to a bar, meeting somebody at a party, things of that nature. Listen, I say what type of person do you want to meet? Right? If you want to meet a high-end person, go to an auction, a cigar bar, right? You want to meet somebody different? Go to someplace different, like to a rodeo.
Right.
No, like, seriously.
No, I'm,
you know
I'm
what I'm saying?
you.
We stay in our bubble. So we're finding people at the clubs or, things of that nature.
Right. And it's the same person.
Same person. Literally do something the complete opposite of who you are.
But based off of what you're looking for.
Well, I mean, what you're looking for could be in the oddest places, right? Like you might, somebody on here might be like, well, why would I look for somebody at a rodeo? Do you know how many good old country boys are at a rodeo?
That got money.
That want to take care of their family. Like, they are so family oriented. Come on. Y'all better go to the rodeo.
You better get your ass to the rodeo.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you. You understand? The auction. I do not subscribe to this high value, whatever. But if you are a person of, especially a person of means, and you like, man, I'm finding these low vibrational people, go to where the people of means are. They at the auctions, boo. They at the museums. They at the openings of museums and stuff like that.
You know what I'm not saying? Playing. I'm dead serious.
Like, where are you putting yourself so that you can be caught or you can catch.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. That's good. That's good. You're good. That girl good.
What they saying? What they saying?
So good. Yeah.
Trust is earned, not given. Yes, yes.
Yes, surround yourself with what you want. But
thank you, guys.
But think outside of the box about what you want.
Box.
You got to think outside the box. It can't be this, what you've been so accustomed to. Because what's the saying, babe? If you do what you always done, you get what you always gotten. Period. Any more questions?
Oh, yeah.
One more question.
One more? Okay. Which one
we might as well
choose?
We might as well we already at 1 hour and 20 minutes. We might as well go ahead on.
Okay. How do you co-parent with someone who is bitter and combative, and every time I'm in a new relationship, she tries to destroy it and keep my kids from me?
So first of all, that's a guy.
Woo, yeah, that's a guy.
Second of all, every time he's in a new relationship.
Why are you in a new relationship?
Why are you in a new relationship? So many new relationships.
Oh boy.
One of the reasons why she's bitter and combative, because you got new people coming in and out of your children's lives. And people don't like that. This unsure, the stuff that they can't control. So you constantly dating people, different people, and bringing them around your children, around her children, is problematic. And it would be problematic for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, Shannon and I disagree on this, and I'm kind of bending on it, but I still have boundaries and parameters about it. Because I used to say, you just don't date until your kids are 18 and out the house. I don't care if they're 2 years old. Do not date, because you don't know what you're bringing into your house until they're in the house. Period. Right? But I will say this. I was talking to a young man. He was He was cutting my hair up in Jersey, and he found out what I did for a living and started asking me some questions, and was sharing with me the challenges that he was having with his multiple children by a couple of different women, and then he had a wife who they had 2 children by. So he was sharing with me the challenges with his children's mothers. And I was just listening. He was just going in. So I started asking him questions. And by the time we got done with that conversation, boy, was he humbled. You know why? Because he was the problem. And I will venture to say, sir, that you are the problem.
You are the problem. Thou art the man.
Right? And that's not to say
you're fired.
Right? Listen, in our coaching practice, our focus is the individual, because the only person you could do anything about is you. We say you can create an environment for your spouse or your partner. That's on you. And so I'm asking you, young man, I don't know how old you are, what environment did you create for your children's mother? I'm sure you hurt her.
In some way.
Right? In some way, because you're human. I'm not saying you cheat or anything like that, but you hurt her. Else she wouldn't be so bitter and so hurt. Have you gone back and apologized to her without I'm sorry I did this, but you did this. I wouldn't have done this if you hadn't have done that. Have you just gone and said, you know what? Man, I wasn't a good man to you. I hurt you in this way, and you will always be my children's mother, and I love you, and I thank you for that. And I should have never disrespected you in whatever way you disrespected her, because I can guarantee you disrespected her, right? Just the fact that you having women, all these, come on, bro. You know somebody by their fruits. So you want to put the blame on her, and you want her to back off of you so that you can live your life how you want to.
Right. Regardless of how it affects your children.
Regardless of how it affects your children. The moment we have children, we lay down all fantasies of wanting to do whatever we want to do.
How many? How much, baby?
All.
But to do it again?
All. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. All.
I take this thing very seriously when it comes to kids because we are hurting our babies. Those women don't need you. Your children need you. Mm-hmm. And your ex-wife or your ex-wife or girlfriend never needs to know that another woman is in your life. And your children definitely don't need to know. So this is what I'm going to tell you.
If you got it, go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Put focus on your children and your children's mother. When you take care of your children's mother, then you know that your children are taken care of. Because that stress and that irritation and that anger and that bitterness, I guarantee you, she's projecting it on those children. As good as a mother she may be. I was married and was projecting my frustration of him on my children by being impatient and short with them.
Come on.
So I know that she is. Take that weight off of her. Go and apologize. Ask her, what can you do for her? How can you make her life better? How can you help her more? How can you support her more? What does she need from you?
Let me tell you this, right? Let me tell you this.
Yep.
You wrote, you spend a lot of time emptying yourself in this book, Wife, right? And what I just heard is that it's not just applicable for women. What I just heard that it's applicable for men as well. Like you talk about accountability in the book. I need to be, as a man, as a husband, accountable, right? You talked about so many different poignant issues that are bi-directional issues. Yeah. Being encouraging. You talk about that.
Yeah.
That goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
And he would do good to read the book Wife so that he can understand what type of person that he needs to be to the children of his mother, to the wife, to the mother of his children.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, I feel you. I'm telling you.
And that was just so like we don't understand the damage that we do just because we feel that you do deserve love. But you now, because of the choices you made, you have to be more strategic about that love.
Yes.
They don't need that. No, just like this multiple women. Right? Well, it's combative every time I'm in a new relationship. So you in a new relationship that often.
Right.
That you feel like and you mad because she mad. And she could be coming from a very logical place of, I don't want all these women around my children. I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know. And since it's multiple, because it sounds like it's a revolving door. I hate to say it, bro. But you got women in and out of your life. And then you got women in and out of your children's life. And they don't need to see the breakups, the arguments, the how, God forbid you have daughters or sons. If you have daughters, you're showing them how to be treated. And then if you have sons, you're showing them how to treat women. And you got to get that together. So I would.
And if they're young, man, this time is so crucial.
Right. Spend
You're
your time
missing
with
the
them.
time with them because you're trying to be up under some female. Come on, bro. We got to do better, man.
We got to do better. When we know better, we do better. Listen, little mama, I love this.
Me too, baby.
I love this.
I can do this all night. All night.
We want to thank y'all for joining us for another version, another episode of My Marriage is Dope podcast. And listen, we want you guys to, somebody you know needed to hear this information.
Yeah.
We gave you an hour and a half of game.
Wow.
A whole hour and a half of game, transparency, all of that. And we're going to be back next week with another episode, with another topic, with more Q&A and questions. We're going to take your questions. But we want you to share. We're not asking you to do anything other than share this podcast and recommend people come and subscribe. Figure out 5 or 10 people in your network. And
we love you guys.
Yeah, we love you so much.
Guys.
We got some stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
We got some stuff that's coming, y'all. We got another masterclass series. I don't want to get too deep into the description, but we got another masterclass series that's coming up that you want to be a part of.
And listen, get the book, wife, you, and husband. Please get the books for you, not for us, for you, so that you can begin to strengthen your relationships. I'm going to leave y'all with this. Love is beautiful when it's professed, but meaningful when practiced.
Come on, talk
Go
your
in
stuff.
love.
Talk your stuff.
Peace.
Peace.